Very good morning to all. In this lecture, we are going to cover the last topic from unit number 2, that is the concept of power factor meter and frequency meter. So before we will start our construction working principle operation of power factor meter, let us consider first a basic arrangement in which we are having two coil, fixed coil and a moving coil. Actually, this type of arrangement we have already considered when we discussed the concept of electrodynamometer type wattmeter. So what is the basic requirement of fixed coil? To produce the required amount of magnetic field, and the basic objective of using moving coil is to produce the required amount of deflection as an output depending upon the magnitude of deflection torque acting on it as an input. So here the fixed coil are split into two equal section, and the moving coil is placed in such a way that the fixed coils are on either side of it. So here this indicate upper portion of fixed coil and this indicate the lower portion of fixed coil, and the value of current flowing through fixed coil is indicated by symbol I1. This section indicate a moving coil and the value of current flowing through moving coil is indicated by symbol I2. Now this dotted line indicate a plane of reference, and from this diagram it is very clear that initially the position of moving coil with respect to the plane of reference is at an angle of theta. Now from the knowledge of our previous lecture, we know that the expression of deflection angle theta in case of electrodynamometer type instrument when it is used for the measurement of current, that is nothing but ammeter, is given by theta is proportional to I square dm by d theta. Now suppose if you are interested to write this equation in terms of say voltmeter, the equation is written like this: theta is proportional to v square dm by d theta. Now from the above equation it is very clear that the scale of electrodynamometer type instrument, whether it is used as an ammeter or you can say voltmeter, are nothing but non-uniform in nature. And the second thing is that in both the equations we assume that the value of dm by d theta is almost going to be constant. But practically the value of dm by d theta is constant for radial magnetic field. But in case of electrodynamometer type instrument, whether it is used as an ammeter or voltmeter, the nature of magnetic field is parallel. So the value of dm by d theta is not constant. And definitely if you are interested to calculate the exact mathematical equation of deflection torque in case of ammeter or in case of voltmeter, definitely we need to find out what will be the mathematical equation of dm by d theta. So with respect to figure 1, it is very clear that initially the position of moving coil with respect to the plane of reference is at an angle of theta, and the mutual inductance, that is indicated by symbol capital M, between fixed coil and moving coil depends upon the position of moving coil with respect to the plane of reference. Now practically it was found that the value of mutual inductance is maximum, indicated by symbol capital M suffix max, when theta is 180 degree. The reason is very simple, because when theta is 180, the flux linkages with moving coil with respect to fixed coil are at highest possible value, whereas the value of mutual inductance is at minimum possible value, that is M equals to minus of M max at an angle of theta equals to 0 degree. So from these two conditions we can conclude that the value of mutual inductance between moving coil and fixed coil is proportional to the projected area of moving coil on a reference plane which is perpendicular to the axis of fixed coil. And suppose if you are interested to write the mathematical expression to calculate M by using these two concepts, so we can write M is nothing but minus of M max into cos of theta, where M max indicate the maximum possible value of mutual inductance between moving coil and fixed coil, and theta indicate the angle between moving coil with respect to plane of reference. Remember one thing, here the plane of reference is perpendicular to the axis of fixed coil. Now as we know that in the expression of deflection torque we are having the term dm by d theta. Now we know the expression of M. Now what we are going to do, we are trying to derive the expression of dm by d theta, which is nothing but M max into sine of theta. Now if you use this particular logic, definitely we can write the magnitude of deflection torque in case of electrodynamometer type instrument like this. So d theta is going to be equal to I1 into I2 into m max cos phi into sine of theta. Actually our previous equation is I1 I2 into cos phi into dm by d theta. Now instead of writing dm by d theta, we have replaced that particular term by using a product of m max into sine of theta. And the same equation we can write for final deflection angle theta. The thing is that we need to divide d theta by kc, where kc is nothing but spring constant. So we can write theta is I1 I2 m max whole divided by kc into cos phi into sine of theta. Now this equation you have to remember in order to understand the basic working philosophy of power factor meter. Now let us discuss the actual concept of power factor meter. We know that the general expression for power factor is given by cos phi equals to P divided by V into I, where P is nothing but the active power, V is nothing but supply voltage, and I is nothing but the current flowing through the circuit. So from this equation it is very clear that suppose if you are interested to measure the value of power factor, minimum we need to require three quantities: active power, voltage and current. So this is very time consuming process. The thing is that we are interested to measure only the single quantity, that is power factor, and for the measurement of power factor we need to measure three quantity: active power, voltage and current. And that too we are not getting the value of cos phi directly. The thing is that by knowing the value of P, V and I, we need to use this mathematical equation to calculate the value of what? Power factor. So ultimately this process is lengthy, time consuming, and because this process required three different instruments in order to measure the value of cos phi, definitely the answer which we will get via this particular equation is somewhat little bit different with respect to the actual value of cos phi. So to overcome this problem, a single instrument is designed which is capable to measure the value of power factor of a given circuit directly, and that meter is known as power factor meter. Now what are the different types of power factor meter? So power factor meters are basically classified into two different types. First one is electrodynamometer type power factor meter. Now depending upon the nature of input AC quantity, whether it is single phase or three phase, again this type of meters are subdivided into two main categories: single phase electrodynamometer type power factor meter, and second one is three phase electrodynamometer type power factor meter. Now second domain to have the classification of power factor meter as moving iron type meter. Again in this case we are having two subclasses. First one is rotating iron magnetic field type, and second one is number of alternating field type. Now in your syllabus, because it is mentioned that you just know the introductory session of power factor meter, that is the reason we are going to learn a single phase electrodynamometer type power factor meter, its construction, its working, how it is going to use to measure the value of power factor directly. Now this figure indicates a schematic view of single phase electrodynamometer type power factor meter. Now from this figure it is very clear that it has two coil. First one is called as fixed coil, second one is called as moving coil. Now if you see this diagram very carefully, the fixed coil are further splitted into two sections, upper section and the lower section. This arrangement is done in order to have a uniform distribution of magnetic field in this entire portion. Now apart from this, we are having a pressure coil which is also known as a moving coil. Now from this diagram it is very clear that the moving coil are further split into two paths, or you can say two coil, coil A and coil B, and they are electrically connected in such a way that they are parallel with respect to each other. So I can say that this is nothing but a common terminal point which is further classified into two main parallel paths. First coil is A, and a non-inductive resistance R is connected in series with coil A, whereas the second parallel path is indicated by coil B, and a very large inductive coil is connected in series with coil B. कहने का मतलब यह है कि अगर आप प्रेशर कॉइल का सर्क्यूट देखोगे तो प्रेशर कॉइल के सर्क्यूट को दो पैरेलल पाथ में डिवाइड किया गया है। एक रहेगा आपका कॉइल ए और दूसरा रहेगा आपका कॉइल बी। लेट अस कंसीडर दैट दिस इज कॉइल ए एंड दिस इज कॉइल बी। नाउ व्हाट द डिजाइनर इज डन इन दिस केस, इन सीरीज विथ कॉइल ए he connect a very high value of resistance capital R, and in series with coil B we connect a very high value of inductive reactance, or you can say inductor L, and then this entire arrangement is connected across a supply voltage. Now remember one thing, the value of R which is connected in series with coil A is non-inductive in nature. The thing is that it is purely resistor, and the value of L which is connected in series with coil B, it is 100% inductive in nature. That means the current flowing through this particular coil lag the supply voltage by an exact angle of 90 degree, whereas the value of current flowing through coil A will remain in phase with supply voltage because the impedance of this path is purely resistive in nature. This indicates the phasor diagram for a single phase electrodynamometer type power factor meter. Now from this diagram it is very clear that this indicate supply voltage V, this capital IA indicate the value of current flowing through coil A, and I told you that in series with coil A we have connected a non-inductive highest possible value of resistor. This IB indicate the value of current flowing through coil B, and I told you that in series with coil B we have connected a very high value of inductive reactance. So from the nature of pure resistance and pure inductor, we know that in case of resistor the voltage and current are exactly in phase with each other. So if you neglect the inductive reactance of coil A, I can say that this V and IA are exactly in phase with each other, and if you neglect the resistance portion of coil B, we can say that the current flowing through coil B, that is nothing but IB, lag the supply voltage by exactly an angle of 90 degree, and this indicate the value of current which is flowing through the circuit. Now ultimately our objective is to determine the value of power factor by using this arrangement. Now from this construction it is very clear that here we are having two coil A and coil B. Both the coils are placed in the presence of magnetic field and they carry some finite value of current, that is nothing but IA and IB. So definitely both the coil will experience a torque. So what we are going to do, we are trying to write a mathematical equation of torque developed by coil A and developed by coil B, and then at equilibrium condition we are trying to identify how we can measure the value of power factor by using this particular instrument. Remember one thing, that the designing of this circuit or the designing of this meter is done in such a way that both the coils are balanced each other at normal condition. That means no controlling torque is required for the operation of these type of instrument. कहने का मतलब ये है कि एक बार ये इंस्ट्रूमेंट आप यूज करोगे फॉर द मेजरमेंट ऑफ से पावर फैक्टर, तो पावर फैक्टर अगर मान लो इंस्ट्रूमेंट आपको रीड करके दे रहा है, एंड इन दैट केस इफ यू डिस्कनेक्ट दिस meter from the supply, then the pointer will remain at that position only, because there is no controlling torque. It will not come back to its initial position. This point you have to remember. So the same thing is mentioned over here. Here we are having two coil. First one is fixed coil and second one is moving coil. The objective of using fixed coil is to produce the required amount of magnetic field. And if you see the pressure coil, which is nothing but a moving coil, it has two sub coil, coil A and coil B. In series with coil A, we have connected a very large value of non-inductive resistor, and in series with coil B, we have connected a very large value of purely inductive reactor. Now, as I told you that because we are having two different coil, definitely both the coil will produce their own deflection torque as an output. So the deflection torque acting on coil A is given by TA equals to K is nothing but a constant of proportionality, V into I into M max cos phi into sine of theta. Let that equation number 1. Now in this case, phi indicate the phase angle between V and I, and theta indicate the initial position of moving coil with respect to the plane of reference. So if you see that diagram very carefully, here the initial position of coil A with respect to plane of reference is theta. That is the reason in that equation we have written TA, which is nothing but the deflection torque produced by coil A, is nothing but K into V into I into cos of phi, where phi is the phase angle, or you can say base phase angle between V and I, multiplied by sine of theta, where theta is nothing but the angle of coil A with respect to the plane of reference. Now suppose if you are interested to write the equation for coil B, now in that case what will happen? Theta is nothing but the angle between the plane of reference and coil B. So here this is nothing but theta, and here we are having an additional shift of 90 degree. So in this case what we need to do? We need to write sine of angle, which is nothing but theta plus 90 degree. Whereas if you are interested to find out what will be the angle between your main current I and the current flowing through coil B, in that case what we need to do? We need to take the reference of phasor diagram. So let's go on phasor diagram section. Now from this phasor diagram it is very clear that suppose if you are interested to calculate what will be the angle between current I, that is nothing but system current, and the current flowing through coil B, that is nothing but IB. So this angle is going to be equal to 90 minus phi. So mathematically we can write the expression of deflection torque acting on coil B, which is nothing but TB, is going to be equal to K, constant of proportionality, multiplied by V, multiplied by I, multiplied by cos of phase angle in between them, which is going to be equal to 90 minus phi, into sine of angle between your coil B with respect to plane of reference. So we have already calculated this particular value as theta plus 90 degree. So if you use that particular logic, we can write the deflection torque acting on coil A is represented by equation number 1. Let us consider that the direction of this torque is in clockwise sense. Similarly, we can write the expression for deflection torque acting on coil B as TB equals to KVI into M max cos of 90 minus phi into sine of 90 plus phi. And if you apply the basic property of trigonometry over here, you will get equation number 2. Now let us consider that because the designing of both the coils are in such a way that if the torque acting on coil A is in clock, definitely the torque acting on coil B will be in anti-clock. So at equilibrium condition, what we are going to do? We are going to balance these two torque. So TA is going to be equal to TB. So if you write TA, it is KVI M max cos phi sin theta, and TB is going to be KVI M max cos theta into sin phi. Now from this, it is very clear that LHS and RHS are going to be equal when the value of theta is going to be equal to the value of phi. That means the motion of moving coil with respect to plane of reference is purely governed by power factor angle phi. So with the help of this instrument, we are in a position to directly measure what will be the power factor of that particular circuit. Now the second topic which we are going to cover in this lecture is the concept of frequency meter. So it is a type of meter which is used to determine or measure the frequency of AC quantity. And frequency meters are further classified into different types. First one is called as mechanical resonance type frequency meter. Second one is electrical resonance type frequency meter. Third one is electrodynamometer type frequency meter. Then Weston type frequency meter, ratio meter type frequency meter, saturable core type frequency meter. Now in your syllabus, as we have only the introductory session of frequency meter, that is the reason we are going to focus on only one, that is electrical resonance type frequency meter, its construction, working, normal operation. So this figure indicates the schematic view of electrical resonance type frequency meter. Now from this diagram it is very clear that it has two coil. First one is called as fixed coil, which is also called as magnetizing coil, and second one is called as moving coil. The objective of fixed coil is to produce the required amount of magnetic field for the normal operation of this instrument, and the objective of this moving coil is to produce the required amount of deflection angle theta as an output, depending upon the magnitude of deflection torque acting on it as an input. Now from this diagram it is very clear that a pointer is connected to a moving coil in order to indicate the value, or you can say actual value or normal value of AC quantity. Here in this case, a calculated value of capacitor is connected across a moving coil. And from this diagram it is also clear that both the coil, that is a fixed coil which is also known as magnetizing coil in this case, and a moving coil are placed on a laminated iron core. And if you see this structure very carefully, the laminated core diameter is going to vary along its length. From this diagram it is also clear that the diameter of this iron core is maximum at a moving coil section, and it is continuously goes on reducing towards the moving coil position. Now if you see the electrical connection of this arrangement, here the supply voltage is directly connected across a moving coil, and I told you that the basic objective of moving coil is to produce the required amount of magnetic field for the normal operation of this instrument. Let the value of current flowing through moving coil is indicated by symbol capital I. So the same thing is mentioned over here, that in this case the fixed coil is also known as a magnetizing coil which is laminated on iron core. Now, in order to understand the concept of electrical resonance type frequency meter, let us consider a phasor diagram at various operating condition of moving coil parameter. So this figure indicates the phasor diagram of a frequency meter based on various operating condition of moving coil parameter. Here this indicate phi, this indicate capital I, this indicates small I, and this indicates small e. So here all this indicates small e. The thing is that we have drawn this phasor diagram for three different conditions, maybe for lagging load, then leading load, and then unity power factor load. Now let us discuss one by one what the parameters indicate over here. Capital I indicate the current flowing through magnetizing coil, or you can say fixed coil. Phi indicate the flux produced by magnetizing coil, or you can say fixed coil. Small I indicate the value of current flowing through moving coil, and small e indicate the EMF induced across moving coil, or you can say EMF induced in moving coil. Now if you neglect the resistance of fixed coil and the iron losses of core, we can say that the current flowing through fixed coil, which is nothing but a magnetizing coil, and the flux phi, they are exactly in phase with each other. Now what will happen when this flux link with a moving coil? It will induce an EMF which is indicated by symbol small e, and by the knowledge of equation E proportional to d phi by dt, we can write the EMF induced E will lag the flux phi by an angle of 90 degree. Now what will happen? This induced EMF across a moving coil will try to generate a current small I in a moving coil, and the nature of that current I with respect to induced EMF small e depends upon the net reactance of moving coil circuit. It may lag, it may lead, or it may in phase with induced EMF small e. The variation of current small I which is flowing through moving coil and the EMF induced across moving coil indicated by symbol small e for different power factor angle, maybe for lagging, maybe for leading, or maybe for unity power factor, are shown in figure 4, that too A, B and C. Now if you see phasor diagram A, in this case the circuit of moving coil is assumed to be inductive in nature. That means the current small I lag the induced EMF small e by an angle of alpha, and in this case the torque acting on moving coil is given by TD is proportional to capital I into small I into cos of 90 plus phi. So if you see the phasor diagram very carefully, let me show you that phasor diagram. So here this indicate capital I, this indicate small I. Now in this case what we have assumed? We assume that the nature of moving coil is purely inductive in nature. That's why the current I lag the induced EMF E by an angle of alpha. Now the deflection torque acting on moving coil is due to the interaction between current flowing through fixed coil and current flowing through moving coil. So in the expression of deflection torque, the angle we have to take is in between current capital I and current small I. So this entire angle we need to take. Now suppose if you are interested to write the same equation in case of capacitive reactance where the current small I lead the induced EMF E by an angle of beta, then in that case, in the expression of deflection torque, we need to take this angle, and this angle is going to be equal to 90 minus beta. Now if you are interested to calculate what will be the expression for deflection torque when the current flowing through moving coil and the induced EMF small e are exactly in phase with each other, then in that case we need to take deflection torque angle corresponding to 90 degree. So these three things you have to remember. What will happen in case of inductive, what will happen in case of capacitive, and what will happen in case of pure resistive impedance. So based on that logic, we can write the torque acting on moving coil in case 1, where we have assumed that the nature of moving coil is purely inductive in nature. So we can write TD is proportional to capital I into small I into cos of 90 plus phi. Let that equation number 1. Now suppose if you consider that the nature of moving coil is capacitive, then in that case what will happen? The current I, small I, lead the induced EMF small e by an angle of beta. Therefore, in this case, the deflection torque acting on moving coil is given by TD is proportional to capital I into small I into cos of, now in this case it is going to be 90 minus beta. That equation number 2. And suppose if you are interested to write the expression of deflection torque acting on moving coil in case of resistive nature, then what will happen? The current I and induced EMF small e are in phase with each other. So the angle is going to be exactly 90 degree. The thing is that instead of writing over this 0 degree, you need to write here as 90 degree. You need to make this correction on this slide. And you know that cos 90 is going to be 0. That's why deflection torque is going to be what? 0. Now coming to the actual operation of our frequency meter. For a fixed frequency value, the capacitive reactance is going to be constant, but the value of inductive reactance may vary. The reason is very simple behind this, because the inductive reactance of a moving coil not only depends upon the value of supply frequency, but it also depends upon the position of that moving coil with respect to the fixed coil. And practically it is found that when the moving coil is very close to the magnetizing coil, or you can say fixed coil, the inductive reactance is very large. Whereas if the moving coil is far away from a fixed coil, the value of inductive reactance is small. Now in this case, the value of capacitor is so selected that the resonance condition is occur for a normal rated value of frequency. कहने का मतलब ये है कि हमारा ऑब्जेक्टिव है कि मुझे फ्रीक्वेंसी डिटरमाइन करना है. अब फ्रीक्वेंसी अगर मुझे डिटरमाइन करना है, तो इन ऑर्डर टू डिटरमाइन द वैल्यू ऑफ फ्रीक्वेंसी, हियर वी हैव अप्लाइड द कंसेप्ट ऑफ व्हाट? इलेक्ट्रिकल रेजोनेंस. एंड आई टोल्ड यू दैट इलेक्ट्रिकल रेजोनेंस इज नथिंग बट अ कंडीशन where the net inductive reactance and the net capacitive reactance of the circuit are going to be equal. When XL is going to be equal to XC, at that condition what will happen? Both the torque are exactly equal in magnitude but opposite in direction. So the pointer will indicate the normal value, or you can say the rated value of frequency. So the thing is that we want to achieve that electrical resonance in this meter. So this is possible by defining a constant value of C, which we need to connect across a moving coil. And what we are going to do, we are going to change depending upon the deflection torque acting on a moving coil, the position is going to change, and at one specific point when we achieve the principle of electrical resonance, the moving coil will rest at a equilibrium condition where it will indicate the value of supply frequency. So this is what the concept of frequency meter. Thank you.